tell you the truth, the man who does not enter the pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The man who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they are not recognized the stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever come before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through the gate will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full.
So this morning we looked at Psalm 24, and it had troubled me through the week, really. I couldn't make much sense of it because it just seemed so disjointed in comparison to the psalm before it, Psalm 23. Psalm 24 could easily be split up into three separate psalms, but thankfully felt the Lord help when just sitting down and thinking things through. I don't mean that my thoughts brought the ideas, but felt the Lord help me in bringing the psalm together. And we ended verses 7 to 10, where we looked at how when the ark was brought up from Obed-Edom's house, and they brought it on the shoulders of the Levites in the days of David, and they brought it to a tent that David had constructed, the tent of David that was on similar lines to the tabernacle that Moses constructed. And when they got there, this is apparently what they would have said. And so those with the ark on their shoulders, with the rods that were there, and with men inside who would have just constructed the Holy of Holies, they would have shouted this from the outside: lift up your heads, O you gates. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and let the King of glory come in. Yeah. And then a response would come from within, as so often with the Hebrew psalms and songs. They respond to one another, much like the Negro songs. They respond to one another. And the cry comes back, who is this King of glory? And the response from those outside say this: it is the Lord of hosts, strong and mighty. The Lord, he is the King of glory. Lift up your heads, O you gates. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and let the King of glory come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts. Yeah. He is the King of glory. And the veil would have been lifted up for them to get in. You see, it's a lifting up of the gates, not an opening of the gates. It can't be a normal door. It can't be a normal gate. It has to be the veil that opened up for the ark of God to come in triumphantly. And then the veil come back down again. Only for once a year, for the high priest to go in there. Only one person was allowed to remain in there 24/7. That was God himself. He dwelt, the shepherd of Israel, who dwells between the cherubim. What a lovely thought. Fancy God putting himself in a space about that big. No bigger than a football. That's where he planted himself. And so, but then we looked, and the requirement was for a man to stand there. And the cry goes up before all this: who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in the Holy of Holies? And the response come back, the requirement is this: he that has clean hands, who has lived right. He who has a pure heart, who thinks right. He who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity, or his soul to an idol. His relationship with God is right. and who has not sworn deceitfully. His relationship with mankind is right. And there's no one that can go in there. I don't mean a one-off. I mean to go in there and stay there. But tonight, we can say, there's a man in the glory. He's in there now. Jesus, passing through the heavens, and is now at the right hand of the Majesty on high, who has been tested in all points like we are, yet without sin. There's a perfect man in there that has opened up a way for us. Now, when Jesus went to heaven, he would have used these words because he was confronted by gates that had never been opened before. Never been opened. You see, until that time, anybody who lived and died went down into Hades. You remember the parable of Jesus? When he said with the rich man and Lazarus, and the rich man looked across, he could see him. He could see Lazarus in the bosom of Abraham. He could see him with the vision that he had. But now, it was time for he that descended is the one who also ascended far above all heavens. And when he came to these gates, there were a pair of guards that must have been there for generations, wondering why on earth they'd been given a job that had no need to be done. The gates had never been used before. There was not a man in heaven at that time. Do you realize that? Not a man in heaven. They're all down in Hades. All in the place of the dead. All in the unseen world. Held there. But he went down and led captivity captive. And he ascended. Watch what he does. He's the king in his resurrection. He's the king in his death. He's the king in his birth. He's the king in prophecy. And he's the king in his resurrection. And so he comes to these gates. Lift up your heads, O you gates. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors. And let the King of glory come in. Who is this King of glory? Come the guards. The Lord, strong and mighty. The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He's the King of glory. When those gates open, can you imagine the rush? Talk about that day when they go shopping in that posh shop in London at Christmas time, when the doors are open and they're all imagine what it was like. The thief was amongst them. Jesus had said to him, and he was true to his word, you shall be with me in paradise. Well, Jesus didn't go to heaven first. He went down to the depths first. He descended first, and he was there in paradise, in the Hades. But a day came when the king arose. Not only arose, he ascended. And he led captivity captive. And on that day, so many things transpired. So many things. Heaven was filled with the saints of God. That which had been prepared for them had been completed. And that now which they were in was heaven itself. Something else happened. We're told that God has raised this same Jesus from the dead and exalted him far above all principality and power. This same Jesus whom you crucified, God has made that same Jesus both Lord and Christ. On that same day he was crowned Lord. On that same day he was crowned Christ. On that same day he received the promise of the Holy Spirit. This same Jesus, on that very same day when the gates were open, received the promise of God, the outpoured Holy Spirit. The windows of heaven are open. Gates are open. Windows are open. Doors are open. And in the Old Testament, God says this, open your mouth and I will fill it. when a worldly person says that, it's almost a threat to it. Hey, open your mouth, I'll fill it for you. But the way God said, open your arms, open your heart, open your mind, and I will fill it. So many things transpired that day. It must have been a wonderful rejoicing in that day when the gates were opened. And someone might have sung this: love rescued me, seated me with my King forevermore. That's what we just sang. Love rescued me. Imagine the thief. He cannot believe his eyes as to where he is. In a place where there is no more curse. In a place where there is no more sorrow. In a place where there is no more sighing, no more death, no more pain, no more curse, no more darkness, no more sea. It's a world we have no idea on how to comprehend it. We cannot take it in. It's such a splendid world. And so John has to speak in the negatives all the time. This is not there. That's not there. This is not there. That's not there. He's got to speak in the negative to allow our earthly minds to try and comprehend what's going on there. Imagine being in a world where it's never going to be dark again. I don't know when Rita goes out to Sweden soon. I don't know whether it'll be dark there or they but do they ever have 24 hours darkness there? A bit further north then, they said in Norway and stuff, in Finland. A place where there's no more darkness. A place where there's no more sea. What does that mean? Sea always stands for chaos. There's no more sea. Did he notice in the Psalm that he laid the foundations of the earth upon the sea? Upon the chaos. And the land grew up. He brought it forth. They say that's why there's seashells on the Himalayas. To me, that doesn't make sense. I would rather opt for Noah's flood for that. Because at that time, when he founded it upon the seas, there were no fishes in the sea. So there can't be any shells in the sea. Because they came from the creatures. But what God can do out of chaos. Imagine the chaotic lives of all those people, the Samaritan woman. The chaos of their life. And now, we never read about how Jesus sorted out their life. You ever notice that? We want to sort them out, don't we? But you want to get in there, dig in, let's get it all sorted. We never told how Jesus sorted her life. He said, put your faith in me. Let's take it from there. That's no one else's business. You come with me. Peter's tried to stick his business into John. And so he turned and said, what does it matter to you if John never dies? What's that got to do with you? You worry about your own little basket of life. And so we come. Well, I'm supposed to be speaking about gates and doors. But there are so many gates and doors that we find in the scriptures. Look at this one. In John 1 verse 47, it's that account when Nathanael meets Jesus. It's a lovely little account. He's coming up with his friend Philip. And Jesus is standing there and he sees these two men walking up. He recognizes Philip. He's already met him. But this Nathanael, he's looking at him. And he recognizes him. And he says, behold an Israelite in whom there is no guile. No guile in him at all. He said, well, Rabbi, how do you know me? He said, before Philip called you, I saw you under the fig tree. And then he turns and says to him, I said, king in birth, king in death, king in resurrection. Listen to what Nathanael says, Rabbi, you're the Son of God. You're the King of all Israel. Jesus turned and said to him, you're astonished at these things, but you'll see greater things than these. You shall see the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Now this is a strange reference that he quotes, but it goes back to Genesis 28, when Jacob had a dream. And it's a tremendous reversal, because this is the dream. He dreamt that he saw the ladder that went from earth to heaven, and up and down the ladder ascended and descended the angels of God. And at the top of the ladder stood the Lord. That's the Old Testament saying, stood the Lord. But now in the New Testament, the Lord has come down to the bottom of the ladder. And he's standing on the earth. And he turned, he says, Nathanael, you will see the angels of God ascending, descending upon the Son of Man. This is what Jacob said about this dream. He said, this is an awesome place. This place where he's dreamed, where he is now. This is an awesome place. This is the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. The gate of heaven. When Jesus was near you, you were but an open gate away from heaven. Just open the gate. When Thomas Cooper was at his prime, he used to go down to the Double Diamond down there. And he had one thing in his act. He did one part of his act where he stayed behind the curtain for about 15 minutes and the audience was in uproar, tears, with laughter. But the other thing that he would do, he would come out onto the platform and make out there was a gate in the middle of the stage and constantly just open it like that and walk through. Constantly. And everybody was just in uproar. Tears rolling down people's faces. Such a way to make people laugh. Here was a gate that when you opened it, heaven was there. Heaven came down and glory filled my soul. He turned and said this thing, the kingdom of God is now among you. Don't go looking to the east or west. Don't go looking for signs. It's here now. You can have it if you're willing to put your trust in. He's the gate. In John chapter 10, in Dot's translation, she kindly quoted the translation that said it was gate. Verse 3 says this, it says, to him, that is, him being the shepherd, to him the porter opens. The porter is the doorkeeper. And he lets the shepherd in. And the sheep hear his voice, for he calls them by name, and he leads them out. Now this is not when he's out amongst the nomadic world. This is when he's in his home village, and there would be a pasture, a corral, where all the flocks of the sheep owned in the village would all be gathered overnight into one field. And the porter, the doorkeeper, would stand there as guard to preserve them. When the shepherd of the sheep of one of the flocks would come, now this is how well he knows them. To him the porter opens, and he would call out his sheep by name, and he would never drive them out, he would lead them out, and the other sheep would stay where they were because they didn't recognize his voice. And then, when he goes out into the nomadic world, he no longer is the shepherd, he becomes the door, because in verse 9 he says, I am the door. And he that comes in shall be saved or safe, and shall go in and out and find pasture. It's two different circumstances. When it talks about going in and out and finding pasture, doesn't that remind you of just being free? It's got that connotation of liberty there, of freedom there. I've met some Christians, and they're free. I remember going with Mike Thomas up to Whitchurch in Shropshire, just on the border between England and Wales. A beautiful, beautiful village. It was a conference that we went to, it must be about 30 years ago, and we walked in, and the guy there had an Hawaiian shirt on. And he had quite a refined voice, and I thought, oh, no. I said to Mike, I said, oh, we got trouble here, Mike. But you know, he was a lovely brother, Hawaiian shirt and all. And this he had over me. He was free. He had liberty. He could go in and out and find pasture. He was following the shepherd. He left me, And I suspect he left Mike for dust in the considerations of freedom and liberty. I don't mean show-offness. He wasn't a show-off guy, very humble guy. But he had that freedom. He became the door. Have you gone in through the door? Do you know what it is for Jesus to speak to your heart? Do you recognize his voice? It's always fascinated me how a young boy like Samuel, a young boy, probably between 10 and 12 years of age, somewhere around there, just about at the end of the day to tuck himself into bed, and in the darkness, ere the lamp of God was going out, semi-darkness, and he hears this voice. Now what would you do if you heard this voice? Samuel. He felt so, now he'd never heard that voice before, but he was convinced it was his guardian Eli. Marvelous how God can speak to us. And he can be so intimate, so friendly, so near, that even in the darkness, for want of a better word, it didn't spook him. It's a marvelous thing what God can do, you know. Whenever you hear that voice. Do you know what it is to be saved? When Mr. Wesley was asked by the Moravian brother, he said, are you saved? On the ship in a storm, are you saved, Brother Wesley? Are you saved? I hope I am. It's no question of hope, Brother Wesley. He said, it's to be. And so we find that we can know this confidence. Now there are other doors that are open. There are doors that are open. Listen to this little church in Philadelphia, only 2 of 7 churches that wasn't criticized by the Lord. When I say criticized, that he had nothing against them. And he turned and he said to him, said to this young church, he said these words, I have set an open door for you. A door that no man can open, or no man can shut, and no man can open. For you have a little strength. Now doors open in our lives, and little thoughts begin to creep in. A door can open. Paul, writing to the Corinthians, says, he said, we look at this verse, I think on Tuesday, or maybe another time. It says this, a great and effectual door has been opened to me. And there are many adversaries. But we read on, and we find in 2 Corinthians that he went into Macedonia, and a whole new world opened up there. You see, we get put off when doors begin to open. We get put off. We begin to worry as to what's going to happen. It says this in John chapter 20, almost identical circumstances, that the disciples had gathered together and the doors were shut for fear of the Jews. There are times when the Lord opens a door. There are times when we shut the door. And thank God there are times that he disregards the shutting of the door and comes in anyhow. He rescues you. He rescues you. Now there will be some that turn around and say, but he can't do that. Because surely it has to be measures of faith there. He can't, oh yes he can do that. He's God. And so the disciples were there trembling. They were trembling that much that he had to come a second time, 8 days later, when the trouble was still there, the doors were shut, and he said exactly the same words, peace be to you. So there are doors that are open, and there are doors that have been shut. There are times when that open door opens to us a new world. God might be speaking to you at this time, about an open door. And there's fear there. There's uncertainty there. Where will this lead me. For there are many adversaries. But Paul pushed on and went into Macedonia. The disciples needed another visit from the Lord, with the door being shut and saying the same words. Elijah had shut the door. He was in a cave, no door on it. But the Lord said to him, go out. You're no good to anyone in here. You can't, what I have for you, you can't do in here. You have to go out. And as soon as he went out, through the mouth of the cave, he saw God. There are doors and there are gates. What of the Shunammite lady? Who, half asleep, we say some daft things, don't we, when we're half asleep. Judith came in the other night and she said something to me, and I was after, I was daft on. And I said something daft about the clock or something, whatever. And the Shunammite, she heard the knocking of her beloved at the door. He even put his hand through to the latch. But when the response was one of laziness, one of laxity, he withdrew and departed. She tried to make amends and chase him, but she suffered consequences from it. We're told that the men that were in the street beat her. If she had only responded when her lover came to the door. With warmth of heart, she said, but I can't put my clothes on now. It's too late. I can't do this, I can't do that. It's not fitting in with what I planned. And the beloved withdraws back. Is that what you've experienced with the door in your life? When Christ has tried to draw near and you've chosen some other road. Thank God there are times when he says, I understand, and he comes in anyhow. He rescues us. Thank God there are times that even when the Shunammite suffers the consequences for her loss of love, so to speak, her laxity, her uncaringness, her dullness of mind and spirit. Thank God she was able to meet him later in the garden. She was able to find her beloved. What of that man that we are told had everything? And yet the Lord said, but you've got nothing. He turned and said on one occasion, I'm rich and increased with goods. I am absolutely in need of nothing. But the Lord said to him, but wait a minute, you're not rich, you're poor. Not only poor, but you're naked. You're wretched. And we have this that comes that very often is used as an evangelistic type of thing, but it's addressed to a Christian. And this is what the Lord said to this church, to this individual. Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. He that hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and sup with him, and he will sup with me. Rembrandt's famous painting shows the door with the handle on the inside, nothing on the outside. There are times when God is quite prepared to break into your life. He understands the pressures. He understands the fears. Understands all those things. He knows our frame. And he comes in and he rescues us. But there are times when he gives us responsibility. And it's no good trying to shirk it. Unless we pick up what his voice is saying and open that door, he will stay outside. The children of Israel. There's another group of people. 12 men went across into the land of Canaan. And they came back with a report. And Joshua and Caleb brought a fantastic report. we are more than able to take the land. But the 10 others turned around and said, no, there are many adversaries out there. The children of Anak, 6'2" and eyes of blue. All the different things. Real problem makers. I wonder if that's where we get that word anarchy from. Anak. Anarchy. I don't know. No? It's a blow, isn't it? And that group of people never knew what it was to go into the land. Not just 10 of them. At least 600,000 men and their partners or wives, whatever they would call it. When I say partner, I don't mean the modern term, but the family. Those that were in that age group, none of them got through into the land. And the next generation were the ones that went through. Sometimes he rescues us. Sometimes he gives us opportunity to repent. Because that's what the opening of the door means. It means repentance. It means turning back to the Lord, giving him opportunity. It means that. But sometimes, when we can be so willful, that we just won't humble ourselves at all, then the Lord has to, he turned around and said, well, I'll go and find someone else then. In those simplistic terms, I'll go and find someone else then. And that person will never be able to do the work that you would have done in the way that you would have done it. There are many gates and many doors, but the Lord, he opens them. And if we keep them closed, may he grant us grace to open them up, to allow him to lead us to the land that he wants us to fulfill. Well, the time is gone, 7 o'clock.